Hey viewers, FHW here. I'm back playing the Isle again, and this time I thought I'd do something a bit different. So I've been playing EVRIMA pretty much since it came out. I haven't gone back to Legacy because I've been enjoying it so much. So while I'm playing, I often come across a lot of people in the chat who are wondering how they can find their way around the map. And usually they get referred to different maps online, like on Google or on online forums and stuff like that, where there's a few sort of vague maps, and a lot of the time they're not always that helpful, or they're from angles where people then have to put it into 3D if it's shot from above. So another problem I find with that is that it takes you out of the game a bit, breaks your immersion, and if you only have one monitor, it can be a bit dangerous because you have to look at that whilst your character's still in the game. It could be vulnerable to predators and stuff like that from other players. So what I thought about doing this time is showing people how to make their way around the map without needing a 2D map to keep looking back and referencing. So in this episode I'll show you guys where north is, I'll show you different landmarks, the rivers, the streams, the lakes, and I'll lead you around the multiple pathways on this map to show you viewers how to traverse the map solely by looking at your surroundings and stuff like that. So by being able to find different landmarks like the Spire over here, and looking at different mountains like this one in front of me at the southern end of the map is over there, such as the Saddle Mountains, which I like to call them because they're kind of saddle shaped. But especially here on the right hand side of it, there is a new radio tower which sort of helps guide your way across, so that'll be able to, it's a good guide for people to use. I've chosen the Tyrannosaurus as it's got the biggest field of views. It's the largest dinosaur so far in EVRIMA, subject to change for the Carnotaurus and Stegosaurus, as well as the Diplophodon that are coming in the next update. But for now, the Tyrannosaurus will do, so it's fast enough. But I'm going to take you guys around and find where the best spots are, so show you guys how to move from different swamps, and also how to follow the paths that cross all the way around the map itself, and what things you can find along them. So I'm starting off here at the Spire Rock, which is, if we use our scent, which I'm sure pretty much everyone knows how to use, is when you use your scent at the top of the screen, these arrows come up, and always this upwards facing arrow here, it's always facing north. So if I was standing anywhere else in the map, it would always point towards this rock here, the BP rock, or Spire as it's known. It's just a high rock that sticks out of one of the mountains, and it's pretty accessible and recognisable from most points in the map, unless you're in thick jungle. So by using north along here, we can find that, so just over this hill is the coast. Going around here is the southern side of the map where the radio tower is. Over there to the east is the other side of the map, which are actually cut off by a big world border, but you can sort of see a path through there. And just over here is a few rivers, a few sources, but there's the beach, which you can get around to. But if you're looking to find different swamps, literally just in front of me, down this, it's the gully around this forest around here, up here, or down there I should say, just underneath the shadow of this Spire Rock, it's the North Swamp, which is a good hotspot for people. There's also plenty of food around there, but I'll be showing you guys how to get your way around and everything like that. But yeah, so you can obviously get some food and water at the swamp. So I'll be back to you guys in a minute. And I think we'll start off by traversing the pathways and seeing what's along them. Okay, so here I am at the North Swamp, and this is a very common area for people to hang out, and it usually gets quite busy when there's people on the server. A lot of Utahs, a lot of Tonontos, a lot of Dryas. If you're looking to fight something, or come to get food or water, this is a great place to come. But you can tell what this place looks like from how crowded it is. It's quite a big hotspot for players where they can congregate, Utahs and Swantos and Throws. They can fight, and, herd up and pack up, all that kind of stuff that people like to do. There's also a lot of food around here, but it's characterised by it being, it's not the biggest swamp, so the largest swamp is down south, but from here you can sort of tell it's the North Swamp by it being, by its size, but also by the fact that it's completely surrounded by trees, dense covering of swampy trees, which the other swamps aren't. Some of the other swamps have open parts that connect to them. Yeah, but this is pretty much connected all the way around. And another thing that can help you understand where you are is that on the side I'm going away from right now, there is a river that connects to it, so quite a flat sort of delta type river. I'll catch you at that in a second. But okay, one way to tell when you're entering the North Swamp is that there is a waterfall that enters to it, that leading from a river that comes off just to the side. You can see the North Rock right there, the spire, shows how close the swamp is actually to it. If I just round this corner right here, you can see the waterfall right there. And that waterfall comes from a river that snakes all the way up past the spire of rock and goes down to the eastern side of the map. But yeah, this river goes all the way down to a source which connects down closest to the east by the coast. There is another further river that I'll show in a bit. It flows into the river through here. Okay, so I'll do a quick perimeter of the swamp to show you what it looks like from around the edges, just so when you stumble out of the jungle, from whichever direction you're coming from, you can sort of get a good idea of what swamp you're at. Like I said before, it's all completely covered in forest, so that can be hard to spot, but if you're always using a scent, it's not as hard. So coming over here, just off the left, there's a little tributary that comes out. Usually this is a good spot to grab something to drink and stuff like that. There it is, the North Rock again. Okay. Yeah, this is a good spot to come out in the open. Be cautious if you're a herbivore, because it's also a spot where a user raptor could easily spot you. So yeah, continuing around, you also get to here, which is a more sheltered version. It's still sort of like a little branch that comes off the left of the swamp. Yeah, it all feeds back in. Now I'm coming around to the eastern side of the North Swamp. You have all this water and sort of swampy stuff, the thick reeds around the bed around here. Good hiding spot, good ambush spot as well if you're a Utah. But as you've noticed again, it's still completely covered with trees, so it's one of the telltale signs. And it's not overly big either, so yeah. And then along this part here, there's a lot of bushes that herbivores can eat from, so yeah, there's a path up that way. Okay, so I'm coming up to pretty much the end of the swamp right here. You'll notice just going across the water is a little rock bridge. That's what people can use to traverse around. If you get a good enough run up, you can pretty much jump it as a Toronto. There you are. Or you can fall off like me just then. Anyway, yeah, this leads up to a different river that runs all the way up to the saddle-shaped mountain over there. But I'll come back to that in a bit. So yeah, this flat plain over here also has a lot of food. And you can come all the way around here, and that's pretty much the full loop of the swamp. Yeah. So there's lots of food, lots of hiding spots, lots of water for people to drink. Yep. So this is practically where I began. That's the full loop of the swamp. And now I'll show you guys how to get to and from it by using different parts of the map. So, as we've already established, that's north, which I'll just show you again. See? The arrow's right above there, and you'll always be able to find it. So, by coming this way, along the edge of the swamp, I'll show you how to find the pathway. This is the main path that we're going to use to run around the swamp, the whole map. Because, although the map is boxed off at the moment, which could change with the new update, there is a path that circulates around the entire map. And this is what I'll be using to try and show you different parts of the map. Shouldn't take too long as well, so if I get to the northern side of the North Swamp, where actually literally just where the entrance to this of a waterfall is, let's cut across here, please. There we are. If you go directly north now from the swamp, you're going to bump into a path. So I've just crossed over the stream which leads into the swamp on this side, which you can again tell by the waterfall. And I am now on the north side of the North Swamp. And you can tell because I'm between the swamp and the North Rock. And now, if I travel up this direction, which I'm going to go now, I'm going to bump into a pathway which circulates around the entire map. And so I'll just show you now. Because as long as you're at the north end of the swamp and you head towards Spiro, you're eventually going to bump into this path. It's in the middle of the jungle, so you always have to keep north as your guide. Okay, so yeah, that's north. Just in front of the rock. Let me just run through this jungle. And maybe, say within about 20 seconds or so, I'll run into the path. And here we go. So now I've hit the path. I'm going to take the path. Let's see, shall we? Which way do I want to go? Well, I think I'll start off by going west. So we're going to go from west and we're going to go anti-clockwise for our entire map. So let's go, shall we? So travelling along this path is pretty straightforward. There's no real big twists or turns, and it doesn't really drop off at all, so you can't lose it. You just have to travel around and know where the food and water is, which I'm going to show you. So yeah, let's go. So right now the direction of the path that I'm going on is running east to west. I'm going the westerly direction. So you can tell that it's the Spire Rock just up there. Now peppered along this path are different places where you can roll in mud, stuff like that. And now as I sort of turn towards the south a tiny bit more, as the path loops around the map, I'm going to cross over a stream, which is just coming up. And this is the same stream that has the waterfall at the end of it that goes into the North Swamp. So eventually I will get there. Yeah, but to take a look at how there is forest on each side of the map, and that is always obscuring it until you get to this point around here. When you reach the river. You can start to hear the river now. And here it is, it's coming up. And at this point here is another waterfall. This is the same stream that runs all the way down and into the North Swamp. So if you follow that river up there, which I'm going to do in this episode, or if you, depending on time, I might make this into a different video following the rivers. But yeah, let me know for any suggestions that you guys have, or if you want me to do more videos like this, and which way you want to go. ways to find your way around the map, or combat techniques, or any other way to help you play the game if you're struggling at certain points. We just need a bit of guidance. I don't fucking know. Yeah, you'll know this point because there's on one side it's got a slight raise in the ground, and it's got a forest, and you've got a small little plain over here that you can see. So you can pretty much see by the way north is facing that we're sort of going east-south direction now. So if you think about north, it's always great to orientate yourself. And actually, the path is starting to go more south now. So if you look at the top, yep, starting to go south. Okay, so that river that we just crossed over isn't the only one that we crossed through on this pathway. There's actually quite a few. And on this whole circuit you pretty much pass through every river that's in the swamp. And we're just coming up to one now, which is just over here. So if you can see these, if you look just above the treetops there are these rocks. And they are connected to a waterfall that runs all the way across from one side of the screen to the other, that you can see. And as I round this corner, just going through this bit of plain that's in the open, just along this path, we'll go past. And this stream we're about to go over has a waterfall going through it. Okay, viewers, as I cross around this corner, we're about to come across another stream. Here it is. And this one's more recognisable as it has a waterfall flowing down through it, a two-stage one. It's one of the many rivers that you can cross over whilst taking this path. And like I said before, if you want me to make another video where I travel down the rivers to show you what they look like, so you can see what they're know where you are when you stumble across one. This is one of the main points. So usually there's a lot of AI hanging around this area, which is helpful to find. Okay viewers, so you can see the North Rock up through there. We're going to continue past the stream right here, and continue at the path. So we're now on the eastern side of the map, rather than the north side. Okay, and this part of the pathway pretty much lines the coastline on the eastern side. So you can actually see how the path curves back around towards the saddle-shaped mountain over there itself. And eventually it will ring around the side of those as well. That's where I'll take you. But yeah, literally just down the side there, my side is the coast. So to my right hand side over there is the coast. You might be able to see it as we pop around this side. Obviously there's a lot, you can see the beach right there through the trees. But obviously as part of the map has been obscured, so from a distance you might be able to see more land, but because of the world border you're not able to cross over to there. So this is pretty much the eastern side of the map, and as far as you can go. So as we continue to run down here, see there's mud on the path that you can use. Sometimes AI can be found along this bit. We'll continue over towards the radio tower mountain. You can sort of see just on top of that mountain, no trees are about to cover it up, is the radio tower. Now it's a relatively new landmark that was put in, I think about 1 or 2 updates ago. But it sort of gives you a chance to name it. But the radio tower is on the right hand side of the saddle mountain. Okay, so we've stopped going east and we're about to go. Well, we've stopped moving south, and now the path is curved around and we're going east or west again. I'm travelling east this time rather than the west. and just like before, we're about to come up to another river. Okay, so this river that we're about to come up to actually crosses over into the North Swamp as well. It's the stream that goes into the southern side of the North Swamp that I briefly showed you earlier on as well. But yeah, you can definitely see the Saddle Mountain right there with the radio tower on top. And there's the North Rock, the spire. If you think about it, the map's not too big. Especially compared to Legacy's V3. Yeah, it's pretty recognisable on here. So, as we're going west right now, which you can see by using our scent, yep, we're coming up to the next lake. Well, not lake, we're coming up to the next river. And here we are. See, this river isn't particularly long, it's quite straight as well. And the source begins at a little waterfall that pops out at the end of the radio tower mountain right there. So let's just cross over this stream. Okay, so now that we've crossed the river, we're going to continue going towards east on the map. This path will pretty much bring us all the way around to the next swamp that we're going to come up to. And that is the South Swamp. So the path now will continue to ride along the edge of the Saddle Mountain. And you can tell where the South Swamp is because it pretty much begins at the front end of the Saddle Mountain over here on the left hand side. So this open plain that I'm running past right now is pretty good for food, especially over here, because you can see my dinosaur is getting low. So just off to the left, there's usually some bushes, but also another great place to find food, where the eucalyptus trees are, over here, the white ones. That direction over to there, closer towards the mountain, is a good spot. So I'm going to keep going along the path here, and as you can see, it is going along the side of the mountain. And there's a food bush. Don't need it right now, but yeah, sometimes spawn on the path. But you can see how much food there is for herbivores all around here. And especially if you go up here, that sort of direction. This whole area around there, this whole open part, is littered with food bushes. So as a herbivore, it's a good spot for me to come to, and the stream literally is just over there, so you can run up as a dinosaur, or you can go down to the South Swamp. There's a stream just in front of it there that leads out the South Swamp, which is where we're going to go to next. So, good spot for a herbivore. I'll definitely be playing there. It's a Stegosaurus. Okay, viewers, so as you can see now, we're moving down the pathway and along the mountain. You can see there on the right hand side there's the radio tower. Just below it is the start of a stream that goes all the way across down here to the swamp, which goes over to that direction where the North Swamp is. The stream goes down there, and the swamp is, as you know, down by the Spiro rock. So I'm going to carry on going this direction. This is going east to west again. As you can tell, we're slowly running down the margins of the saddle-shaped mountain. On the other side is the coast and the world border. Then also, as you can see, sort of in this, through the tree line, and in the open areas, there's a lot of food bushes around there for herbivores. Oh yeah, there's also a split off of the path here, halfway along the mountain. So when you see this path, it cuts through the middle of the map. It joins up to the other side of this looping pathway and goes more closer to the North Swamp, which you can travel up through there. I'll show you guys later. I'll show you viewers that in a bit. For now, we're going to keep going down this pathway, down the track. Okay, so we're heading up to the South Swamp here. You can sort of see it on the horizon. It's just behind these trees here. We're also coming up to the southeast corner of the map. And still, as you can see, we're going about east if I use my scent. Yeah, we're travelling east, then we're travelling more southeast. get over to here. But as you can see, there's sort of a, you can see just before those trees there's a curve and dip in the ground. It's where a river runs through. And that river runs into the swamp at the south, and it goes all the way down, follows off to the end of the map where it falls out into the ocean. So if you've been travelling along this path the whole time, usually your dinosaurs start to get quite thirsty, so it's a good spot to come over and have a drink. So as you can see, this river bends quite close to the pathway. This makes it a good spot for predators to see herbivores coming and stuff like that. So it's always good when coming over to drinks inside of these marshier bits, just to give them a bit less of a chance of spotting them. Not much of a help with Toronto, but with things like drier, it's a bit more of a lifesaver. So travelling back along this path, we'll actually go on the end up on the southern side of the south swamp, and I'll take you around, show you what it's like on the inside of there. For now, we're just going to keep going up the pathway until we get to our destination. Alright, so as I move through here, you can see that we're actually approaching the wild border. And on this side of the pathway, you can see the swamp. And this is the south swamp, which is characterised by how big it is, because it's the biggest swamp on the map. But also, it's got a lot of open spots around it. It's very flat. There's not really many hills. Yeah. I'll show you more of that in a second, but as you can see, we're coming up to the end of the map. There's tons of places to explore around here. Don't think it's very well explored region. Yeah, as the path goes up here. If the map was its full size, this would be continuing to circulate around the island. For now, it only goes up here, because I think in the future this is getting turned into a road for vehicles to use. So it might be moved or tweaked around and stuff like that. As you can see, there's also another rock landmark over there, which shows off what the landscape would be like over here that side. But yeah, as you come through here, you pretty much get to the end. And very soon, as you can see there, you get to the edge of the map, and you can't get any further past it. Alright, so I'm at the end of the map. Path continues going around the island, but we were unable to pass it due to the world border right here. So I'm just going to head back down, and we'll rejoin the path, so I'll have to cut across the swamp. I'll give you a good chance to show off what the swamp looks like, and then I'll do a loop around that. Right, so as we can't continue down that path, I'm going to cut across the map here, and head towards where this path cuts around and joins back up. Okay, as you can see, in the open you can see where the path is hugging the tree line, but I think just like by the saddle-shaped mountains, this part here is where the path splits off and then joins back up to a viewing area. So we'll just see it here. Yep, this is the world border. Yeah, you can sort of see it happening, where it cuts off and goes up there and splits off the main path. But yeah, this path takes you back into the swamp, and I'll slowly make my way down there now. Okay viewers, so as you can see, we have now got to the south swamp. There are quick ways of getting there, but following the paths is how you get to it. And just on the left hand side, the path goes around the right of it, quite close. So this is the eastern side of the south swamp, and there's a lot of mud patches to go to, but this is a huge swamp, and it takes quite a while to get around it. There's many different points with food, accessibility for herbivores and predators as well. I'll come back to that in a second. So we just go off east again, this direction. We'll come to the western corner of the map. So the wild border, that's western side, you can see it coming up. The path just continues on to go past through there. I think when the full map is complete, this whole path here, the smaller one, is just a branch off to get closer to the swamp. But you can see where it moves right now. You can see how the path continues and joins up in the corner right there. And then the main path that loops around the island actually continues going off to east to west. But we can't quite get to this corner point because the map separates it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just jump off the side here, path, and reconnect to it. But yeah, you can sort of see it would be like a crossroad. It's a very open portion of the map, which they might put forest over, or might turn into a giant plain, whatever. You never know. So it's just the corner of the map. Yeah, see, so my dinosaur's getting restricted from even getting up to the blue lines. So yeah, yep, as you can see there. So, back on the path again. You can see where it would have joined up. And done its own thing. Okay, so right now as we move away from the world border, we move back towards the swamp. This is where the path takes us, this is the main road. And it'll bring us up along the edge of the swamp. There'll be sort of raised parts either side of the path as well, where I'm assuming men have dug their way through. Okay viewers, yeah, as you've seen by the way of smell, there's food around here, but also, for pretty much until you get past the North Rock, we'll be going east to west, or west to east, along this path. There's not any big real changes about this. This is pretty much one straight line, continuing across the entire map. In reality, the playable portion of this map is actually just a small peninsula, and maybe I'll show you guys when I do a video on showing you the geography of the island, the coastline and the mountains. You'll get a better sense of what it will look like. Okay viewers, so now we're back at the swamp. We're on the northern side of the south swamp. That makes sense. But anyway, yeah, it's on the left hand side of the path, and the path pretty much runs along the entire side of the swamp along here. It's like a square almost, the shape of the swamp. So as you can see by the spire off in the distance, we're now pointing north again. So this path is taking us back towards north. Soon it will curve back around, so we're going more easterly, in an easterly direction. But yeah, this path along here is pretty straight. And you can see the size of this swamp along here, how flat and open it is. It's a definite sign to show you what swamp you're at. Yeah, again, this is the south swamp. And if I use my scent to find some food. Okay viewers, so another way of telling that you're at the south swamp is that the food type is different. So the bushes that you eat, instead of being at the north swamp where it's actual hedges and bushes that you eat from, and they have red berries, instead these are sort of more red orchid type plants with wide leaves, and they're a lot shorter as well than the general bushes that you find around the map. But yeah, so this swamp and another swamp that is smaller and over that direction, which I'll show in a bit, is where you can find these types of plants nearly spawn around this area. So anyway, let's continue on the path. So as you've noticed, on my right hand side there's another offshoot. The path continues up this way. So this path here takes you up to another swamp. It's quite a small swamp, it's the smallest one on the map so far. And it's characterised by its high slopes that surround it, and there's a lot of islands in the centre of it, with mud, but I'll come back to that in a second and I'll show you how to find it. Okay, so viewers, I've just described that small swamp over there, but for now let's examine the south swamp in more detail, just to help you find your way around. So along this swamp there are many small gullies that you can find. So I'd say here and just over there in the direction I'm going, the other side of the water, are the most popular points in the map. On the most popular points in this swamp. That's where you can find a lot of Utah players, a lot of herbivore players. It's got a lot of food here, so some bushes. I prefer to stick around on this little peninsula that sticks out, just 'cause it's a nice sort of area. And I personally prefer this swamp over the north swamp. So, yeah. And if we use our scent again, you can see that north is up around this direction, and south is down here. So this is the south swamp, and it's technically in the southeast corner of the map. So you can tell now where in position to the saddle-shaped mountain the swamp is. If I move further back, actually, this is the over here is the very edge of the left-hand side of the saddle-shaped mountains, and they continue going off to the side down that way, along the route we came just by the pathway. So anyway, if I continue along this, we're going to come up to a stream. So now we've come up to a stream, and this stream leads out the swamp and travels all the way down to the other end of the map, and it empties out into a little bay area on the coast with a few waterfalls at the end. In a future video I'll follow this stream up and down, so let's just hop over here. So viewers, as we come around to the east side of the south swamp, we get out into an open plain. Just have to fight our way through the brush. Here we are. So here there's usually a few spots where you can get food, but it won't always spawn along here. This part of the map is, although popular, it's a lot calmer than the North Swamp, and you can see a lot of rocks here that Utahs and drows can use as outposts for prey or predators. So yeah, that's what I use them for anyway. Oh no, look, here's another bush. It's if you remember the path that we just came down, that literally runs along the side from here, all the way along down there, to the end of the map. And this is the bit we saw before. So if you're using that path, you can cut along here, straight into the swamp. Okay viewers, so as we continue through this forest line right here, you'll notice that along this path, most of the forest actually continues just off the water's banks, rather than adjacent, unlike this spot here, but yeah, you'll find a lot of this forest isn't actually completely connected to the swamp itself. It usually lies just outside of it. Just running along here, I hope you can get an understanding of what the swamp looks like, and especially along this part here. When you emerge out from any sort of woodland that you might be into, that you might have spawned in or be walking through, this part of the swamp, although not having as much food available, you can tell that you're at the south swamp by the small islands that exist on this corner. Stick up, so mud islands stick up with these sort of fern-like plants in them. Just along here, you reach back to the path again. So we're practically back on that path that we just went across. And that's the loop of this side of the swamp. So, in reality, this is all of the swamp. It's really big, it takes up quite a large portion of the map. Just crossing it, you have to refill your food and water, as it's once over quite a few times, so it's good to know where the spots for food is. Yeah, as you can see here, there's another spot where the water branches out a little bit, so like little gullies, stuff like that. We'll just continue going around the swamp. You can see this part's a bit more forested. There's food there. Okay, from this angle you can get a better look at the swampy islands that are sticking out. So it's a bit more marshy, it's quite bare, it's all dirt, mud. more shallower area of the swamp. Sticks in there now. Yeah, the water is a lot more shallow on this end. Let's make our way back out onto the dry land. See, we've joined back up to the path again. Okay, so we're now back at that junction that leads off to the small swamp, and if we continue along the path now, we'll lead through a small bit of jungle, and then, as we leave the swamp behind, we'll enter out into some open areas. So, this next part we're coming up to is an open plain with a lot of gullies, valleys, and all that sort of stuff. Right, so now we've pretty much left the swamp behind. We've come through that forest, and now we've come back out onto this open plain along here. You can see the saddle-shaped mountains off over that way. Sort of going away from them now. So now you can see where north is on the map. Get a good idea of the size of where we've come from. Okay viewers, from up here you can sort of see where we're going. We've come around most of the map. You can see where we started off at the spire around there. Just come from the south swamp that's over there. Now we're heading back round here towards north again. We'll be travelling east, so we just end up underneath the north swamp, and along here is a river that we're going to go through. The north swamp is just down there. You can see how the pathway loops around. Like we came around here, we got to the south swamp, we've gone around it, and now the path comes out that forest and all the way along here, and soon we'll cross over a river. So let's go and see that. If you notice, just up there's a hill that you can reach, and on top of it is sort of like an archway type configuration of rocks, just above where my spines are right there. But yeah, it's quite hard to reach. You can just about get up there as you tire and dry. Let's continue along this way. So coming through here, we're about to come up to an archway, which you can see in front of us. And at the arch, there is another split off. So around here, there's lots of food bushes, as you can see. The red food bushes have stopped. So there's no more red plants, or red flowered plants, as I should say. And instead, it's been replaced back with the normal red berried green bushes. But yeah, so let's continue going around. Here's one of the arches. Lets you know you're close to where we're going to get through. And here is the main one that has the path running underneath it, signified by a fallen log that's over it. And this path that splits off practically goes nowhere right now because of the map and its border. So it just runs off to the border, and you're pretty much going to starve to death around there, because it's quite far away from any water sources to get to the end of it. And you're on the coast, so we're going to continue down the main path. Okay, so now on this pathway, we're coming up to another river. And this river is the same one that we saw at the eastern side, or western side of the south swamp. It's quite wavy, this one, if you wanted to follow it. So anyway, as we've come through here, it's the same river that also leads all the way out to the coast. And another time I'll come back and explore this. main point. The path gets kind of crowded over here, but soon opens up again. We should be in the clear, so yeah. You can see along this path where it's sort of been dug out by people when making it, because I'm assuming these are being turned into roads if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's an idea of what it looks like from the other angle. Alright, so we're going to keep coming down this way, and soon, on our left hand side, we're going to come past where that first split off on the path went through, that we saw going when we were alongside the Saddle Mountains. I think that might have been it, just there. Right, no, not quite yet. No, it's here. Okay, so this is the same path here that leads all the way down to the Saddle Mountains, and that this sort of pathway, the same one that was leading down towards the South Swamp and back towards the other river that was in here there. So once I've circulated around the entire map, I'll come back to this and I'll show you where it leads and what it looks like. So, because around here there's so much forest and jungle, you sort of need to be able to recognise which path you're on when you stumble across it, just so you don't head the wrong way and starve or die first, because that can happen on this map quite easily. But luckily, once you know your way around the map, finding food and water should be quite easy. And you see around here, we're sort of getting closer to the Spiro right now. So we're heading north. And in this plain out here, you might be able to see the North Swamp. So we're also coming up to that as well. So if we look through there, and actually, yeah, you can. If you look through this gap up here, you can see, I think in the last update we accidentally removed some of the forest, or it might have been on purpose so people could find it easier, but right through there is the North Swamp. And yeah, you can see the water glistening as well. But yeah, it's just an easy way, so if you came up to around here, you can easily cut off and get to the swamp and be able to find it. But I'm going to continue going around here. You see on the path it gets a lot more open. I'm pretty much almost done now, so it's going to lead up to the dense bit of jungle where I started off and be on the path there. Then from that I'll probably head back into the North Swamp and have another look at different ways of getting around to the swamp and the cuts off the swamp, the little forks in the road that you can follow to sort of use as shortcuts. But for now, we're almost done. You can see we're getting close to where we started because the path is coming right underneath the Spire Rock. So soon we should be done. And yeah, we're now travelling sort of east and west along the side of the Spire Rock. So it's coming right up to where we started. Small little plain over there. Little grassland. Again, there's some more mud you can roll in. But you notice again the plants are all the same. They're all food bushes rather than the red little flowers that you can eat at the other swamps on the east and south side of the map. Go to the north and west side now. I think we've pretty much come to where we started. So down there would be the swamp, directly opposite the Spire Rock. So yeah, it's just a nice look at the main road that circles around the entire map. So actually, yeah, I think we made it now. This is quite straight, this part. So yeah, that is a circle of the entire map. And to be honest, it's a long journey. You have to stock up on food and water multiple times along it, but luckily there's 4 different occasions that you go across the rivers, so no need to worry about that. And nearby the rivers and streams there's always food and stuff like that you can eat. Yeah, let me just get up here before the ledge comes up, and we'll get our way back up to the Spire Rock, which is just up there. So I'm right back at where we began, and you can get a whole look at the map from here. So we've been all the way around from there, past behind those trees and back again. Okay viewers, so now that we've been around the entire main road that circulates the map, let's have a look at those forks in the road again and see where those little offshoots take us. So I'll start off with the first one we came across and show you where it pops out. Okay viewers, so now we've made it to that first split off on the main road that we saw before. You can tell where it starts from the position of the saddle-shaped mountain, and this fork in the road, sort of a fork in the road, maybe a V in the road or a Y in the road. It comes out just at the end of this open plain, and I'll take a quick look around each side so you can see it coming up. So it's pretty much just straight after you reach the river back there, and this is on the way towards the South Swamp, this flat part. You can see the angle of the mountains from there, and then eventually as rounding this corner, it comes up against it. It's just up on your left here. But yeah, if we have one more look at this, and the angle of the mountains, the plains, and where they start, and the tree line, well, where it stops and the tree line begins, you can sort of tell where we are. And as we go in now, it's sort of good to get a bearing of what sort of location it's at. So, let's travel up down it and see what it looks like. But yeah, this is a good way of telling where you are on the map. This is pretty much halfway between the North Swamp and the River Leap. So anyway, as we come down through here at the start, it's pretty open on the left hand side. Trees quite close to the side, but soon the trees will be completely surrounding this area. Some food there. You can see we're sort of heading more north now, so you can see the North Rock. Gives you a sense of what direction this is going. And it tends to stay pretty straight, this path. Bends off to the north and then back down to the going east again as it joins up to the other pathway. So let's continue going through here. Here we are, it's starting to go into the forest. But soon we should pretty much connect up to the other side. Back onto the main road again. So this path starts off pretty much halfway between where the river that leads into the North Swamp starts, that little crossover on the path, and it's also halfway between the South Swamp, so it's a good indication of where it is. So yeah, here we are, we're going a bit down and leading off towards the right a bit, and here's where we connect up to the other path. So if you remember this part, this is where we came up past, after we crossed that river, it's close down past the South Swamp. But yeah, if you remember, we come up through here, and this is off to our left. Same as coming back this direction, it'll be off to our right. It sort of goes off in a Y or a T. So remember, if you go this way up the main trackway, you end up at the Spire, and with the swamp just off to your left. But if you go down here, you go down to the river and then eventually into the South Swamp. So junction here is a good way of cutting a corner across the map if you need to get to a certain point. Anyway, yeah. Now it's on to the next one. I'll show you which direction it goes. See you in a bit. Alright, so I've now made it to the other offshoot that we found at the South Swamp. You can see it right there. Interestingly, this path actually leads somewhere. It takes you all the way over to this small little swamp. It's right next to the South Swamp, as you'll see in a moment. But it comes out just out there on the corner of the South Swamp, and it connects all the way up back to a river. But if we carry on going along here, we'll eventually get to a smaller swamp, which I just call the Small Swamp. It's just easy. So, judging on the borders on the map, this is at the northwestern side of the map, sort of. And you can see it just through the trees right there. But interestingly, at this swamp there's also the red food type. So the red plants rather than the berry bushes that you can eat. But yeah, path takes you around the wide angle along here. But at any moment along there, you can take a shortcut right to the swamp water, and it will just take you through. But here, it takes you around it, and you can see it's a lot smaller, this swamp. You know, it's still pretty large. And here actually, you cross over another river. So this river leads all the way up and eventually moves out the world's border. But it empties out into this river. It wasn't always here, it was recent. I think it was the last update this river was closed in, or the one before that. Same as the radio tower, but it now funnels out into this smaller swamp that's over there. It's just off to the left of the south swamp. And the path comes out here, and we'll continue going along it. Another thing you can notice when going through this small swamp along here is that there's a lot of small islands in the very centre that you can swim to, and sometimes it has food on it, so that can be a bit of a haven for herbivores. But yeah, as you can see now, this path continues and eventually leads off the map. But in the future, I'm guessing this will lead to another swamp or a lake or another path that continues around the island, but we'll see where it goes in a future date. For now, that's where it ends. You can see how far away this is because not the spire at north is already over there, and it's pretty far away. But still, if you get a high vantage point, you can see how this is only a tiny portion of the map that we're able to play on. I think the devs are actually making a smaller map for people to officially play on, roam around the entire thing. When player counts go up, I'm guessing the rest of this will open up as well. For now, let's have a look at the small swamp, shall we? Okay, so I thought I'd start off here at the end of the stream as it flows into the swamp, and I'll go around anti-clockwise from the small swamp. I'll just show you what's on each side, how to find out what it looks like when you come across it, same as the others. So this is one of only 3 swamps on the map so far. This one is a bit more hidden or secluded. I've heard people call this the hidden swamp, which is probably an apt name, but it's not too far away from the south swamp. So if you just went exploring, it wouldn't take long to find. You notice, like the north swamp, most of the swamp is surrounded and covered by dense foliage and trees. One thing that does set this swamp apart is the high banks. It's actually inside of a sort of dip in the ground, and it's surrounded on all sides by tall slopes. Some of them get quite steep along here, especially. You can find food along them, but these slopes pretty much encircle the entire swamp. Over here, actually, I'll make a quick detour. We'll check out some of these islands, because it's quite a few of them in the centre here. Yeah, it's surrounded on all sides by some steep hills and slopes. That's what sets it apart. For the rest of this, it's a bit of a mixture between both swamps. Okay, here we are, up on top. Okay, so apart from the slopes that sort of set it apart, on these hills that surround the entire swamp, it's pretty much a mixture of both north and south swamp, because it's surrounded by trees pretty much around the entire time as you circulate around. But it also has a few open patches, and the food tends to be in the open spots. Unlike the south swamp, it has these little islands in the centre, but it also has red food bushes as well. So the red plants rather than the actual berry bushes that you can find at the north swamp. Yeah, here's a nice spot just to hang around. You can see, yeah, that's south there, and north is over here. And the spire is pretty much off to the northwest of here, so come a long way. But anyway, let's get off these islands, however good they are, and continue our way around the edge of this talus. So we're going to keep going around the perimeter of this swamp. As you'll notice, even though it is the smaller swamp out of the rest that you can find around here on the map, it is still pretty large, and I think it's barely smaller than the North Swamp. But here it is, still the smallest swamp on the map. You'll notice through here, it's a big place for people to hang out when they come into this part of the map. So this part along here is usually the more popular side because of these slopes along there. It's usually food, stuff like that. It's quite secluded, so you can hide from predators here quickly, rub yourself in the mud, wallow. Also, you can sneak up on things. And here we are, actually. So this is where the food is. You get this sort of wide leaf plant with the red flowers on top. This shows you are quite close to the South Swamp and the eastern side of the map. But yeah, there you go. You're close to the islands again, in the centre of the swamp. There's several clumps of them. But yeah, as you come around here, we're pretty much getting back to the pathway again. You can see how crowded that part was, and then you have these small pockets that open up a bit like the South Swamp. Yeah, it's a real mixture. It's very dense along here, but this is channeling up the side of the path that we went up, so if we cut through this jungle we'd end up on the path. And here we come, at the edge of the path, back to where we started. This more open, flatter part. That is the entire swamp circulated. Right, so we've now covered the entire swamp. So like I said, very small, didn't take very long at all. And now we can simply take the path back down to the South Swamp and continue. So that's all the swamps, and we have now pretty much completed all of the pathways that circle around the entire map and crisscross around. There is one more path, however, which I showed before, and I'll show it to you now, as this is the path that leads to nowhere. It's the only one that on the map so far that leads to nowhere. But I'll show you viewers what it's like to go down that path and why it's probably in your best interest not to go down it. Because, like I said before, that path leads to nowhere. Alright, so we've made it back to the main road again. And if we continue going up this way towards north, and leaving the South Swamp behind, we'll make it to this other pathway. Okay viewers, so we've now finally made it to the last offshoot that we have on the map. So this is the final path we have here to explore. So this is also the longest path, offshoot, that you can find on the map, and it's signified by the archway that's made by the fallen log and the other rock archway over here. So there's two archways that show it. It's also surrounded by scrub, and running up this way, as you saw before, is the South Swamp, and coming back down here is actually the river that continues and also leads out of the South Swamp. And that river goes all the way down to the ocean. You can also see it by coming along this path. I'll show you how to get to that in a second. Now, because of how long it is, there's actually no water down there. So you've got to make sure you're prepared on water and food before travelling down it. But there's no real reason to travel down it because the path eventually gets blocked off by the world border on the map. So there's no real place to go. But that's the final path, so I'll show it off for you guys. There is actually a spawn point that you can find down along here, so there's one good thing. So this is going more north and south direction along this part. So I think the spawn point is just along here, around these sort of parts. So it's good to know where you are rather than when you just spawn. You don't want to go down the wrong way, because you'd end up dying of dehydration before you got anywhere. So it's always good to go when you find yourself in sort of an open area like this, just to have a look around with a scent. If you can see these sort of smoother, sort of a circular sort of shaped hill over here with also this rock mountain, or sort of mound, sort of teepee sort of thing over there. And you should go, again, you should be travelling south to where all the food is. You can also sort of see the Spiro off in the distance there. But yeah. But this here is the last spot where you can ideally get water for a long time. So if I quickly run off to the side here, you can see where the river curves back towards the pathway and then runs off again towards the ocean. So you got to be careful when coming down because there's some cliffs there which you could hurt yourself coming up, or you could even die from fall damage. Yeah, this is the last spot to get some actual water for a while. quickly go back up the bank. For the moment it's out in this big open plain, but eventually, as you get close to the world border, as you can see, it starts closing in, there's a lot of jungle and forest, and eventually during the forest the path starts to get lost, so I don't know if it's intentional, sort of say you shouldn't be going this way, or if it's just like a thing on the map that would be fixed later on. So yeah, it can be quite difficult to follow this path. Hopefully we do find our way across it. For now it remains pretty straight, sort of move away from the river, and off to the other corner of the map, the northwest corner, that's where it sort of leads to. And eventually it will run along the coast. So yeah, we're just coming out of the open area now, one on each side, and this is where we start going into the jungle. It gets really dense. And you can also see how long this path is. It does lead to a nice part of the map, but eventually it leads to nowhere so far. So for whatever reason, if you wanted to come down here, be prepared and stack up your food and water, get your stats up, so you can make the distance. Small open grassland on our side there. But yeah, here is where we begin to start losing the pathway. Yeah, it starts to get very crowded through here. See with trees and bushes starting to grow over the path itself. And this is where the track first disappears. So what you've virtually got to do is map your way through the trees and hopefully come back out on the other side again. So you eventually go along here, and eventually you start coming across the path again and come back on it. That's one spot where you can easily get lost, so going through there. And the next gap in the path that occurs is a lot larger, it's a lot harder to find where to go. So again, you sort of got to follow the trees. But if you're finding yourself stuck and you can't get past this point, there is another way of escaping this jungle and finding a way back again. And I think you can sort of hear it now. So if you go off to your left, you'll come up to a river. And it's the same river we saw before. Actually, yeah, there's a telltale sign of where you are. Okay, so you'll either come across a river, or you'll come across this ravine here. And this ravine, if you go up where it stops here, and you continue forward, eventually you'll come across the path. And here it is. So we're back on track again, but let me just show you what you can do if you can't find the path. Again, this is by going in a more north direction, so you get lost, just travel north, and eventually you should find it again. But you can see where the water is. If I head back down here, and move off to the right a bit, you can already hear it now. And just over here is a waterfall. So yeah, if you lost the path straight away, if you immediately go left, you can come out to here. This is the base of the waterfall, and it's also a good place to get a bit of water before continuing. Yeah, that's where you can find it. And then the path continues. Right, so if we make our way up here, straight across the right, so if we keep going right through here, we get into this valley, and this little fissure in the ground, which I now have to get out of. Okay, so if you don't immediately fall into it, you'll come across this ditch in the ground if you go right from that waterfall right there, and if you travelled right up here, straight north, stumble into the path again. Here we are. So along here there's some food, and it's pretty much the last place where you can actually find the food bushes, which are the ones with berries again, like you see at the North Swamp. But around this part you're pretty much getting to the end of the map, and there's no water past this point other than that waterfall you just saw, and eventually we'll get to a world border which will block our path, but this one's invisible, but I'll show you that when we get there. For now I'm just going to keep coming up through here. Shame there's not much around this part of the map because of how nice it looks, but this is the last point where the food is, but you'll see that it just starts going away, and there's that more sloped sort of mountain over there. But yeah, we'll continue going along this path, and as it starts to branch more towards the coast, it sort of hugs the cliff that goes along the beach line. That also leads up to the end of the map. But yeah, this part of the path starts getting a bit more curvy. It twists around the trees more down the slopes. You'll sort of start seeing here where the coast is. And at this point, viewers, it's a sharp right turn, followed by another left turn. You can sort of see we're going down into a cliff sort of area now. Path drops off down to my left and raises up my right. And soon we'll come out of this jungle into a open plain, which is on our left hand side. It's a shame because it's a nice part of the map, but of course there's nothing to eat or drink there, and you'll see it as we come up through here. Now you'll see that to come out here you have to have your food and water up full, otherwise you're probably going to starve or dehydrate before you can get back, so it's kind of a bit of a rush once you come out here. But yeah, here we go. We're coming up to it now. Here's the open plain. So right in front of us before the end of this tree line is the world border. It's invisible at this point in the map, but you still stop by it, and it sort of curves around the last edge of this tree line. So soon I'm about to bump into it. And here it is, it's just up here. So yep, I've now reached the end of the map. See, the path would normally continue going along there, along the coastline, but for now I'm trapped, and this border continues to block me along here. I can't move right anymore, so the map's intentionally blocking me. See, can't get past that, and it goes through this tree line here. You often get stuck. Okay, so now we've come to the end of here. We've done all the little offshoots, and we've also gone around the main road. So there's all the paths on the entire map that's available to us so far. And thank you for watching this far along, if you still are. It's taken quite a while, but yeah, I wanted to make sure I've got this in enough detail. But it's a shame really, as this is a nice part of the map and I'd love to explore it more, but I'll have to wait till it opens up. But for now, as we've covered the swamps as well, I think I'll save anything else for another video. There's just a few more things I need to do. But yeah, good job for grazing. It means I can stay alive out in these parts. But I still have to go back for water, which is down that direction. Because if I went up to the top of there, you'd see that this is at the outer edge of the bay, which curves all the way around back up to the spire. So I'm just going to head back now, back down this path. And I hope that clarifies to you guys why this isn't really the best path to take, because you just end up at this world border and this reasonably nice looking spot, but there's no food or water for you guys to eat or drink. and there's not much AI that I've spotted ever coming around here, so I don't really use this path very much. But yeah, when the map opens up, I reckon this would be a nice spot to travel through. Right, I'll see you in the final parts of the video. And again, thanks for sticking with me for so long in this video. Alright, so now that we've seen all the paths, all the offshoots, all the swamps, and where the rivers cross over them, you can sort of see how these little walkways, the main roads, the paths, sort of like cut the map up, make it easier to traverse. So now that you know the way around these, it should be quite a lot easier to find yourself on the map. Once you know you're at one path, you pretty much know which section you need to go across to get to the other. Also, if you use north and compass to find your way around. Okay viewers, so now we're back at where we started at the beginning of the episode. But instead, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go clockwise around the entire map, and this should be relatively quick. It's still pretty long because it's a large map, but I'm just going to speed it up, and you'll get an idea of what the map looks like from the other side. Well, when you're going in a different direction, so you can still sort of see what it looks like, because it can look a bit different when going the other direction. So here we go. Okay viewers, so that was all the paths and all the swamps that you can find on the map. We went around the entire map, crossing the entire main road, going into all of the offshoots and all the swamps you can find along the way, different waterfalls and different rivers that cross through them, and run in and out of them. You know, the map ain't too big actually, well it's definitely not the size of V3 Legacy, but you know, the way around the paths, you can find food and water, relative ease. But yeah, if you want me to make more videos like this, showcasing of different things like how to work your way around the map without using paths or anything like that, just by looking at the geography of the island, I'll be able to do that. And also, I feel like I should make another video like this on rivers, following the rivers, so let me know if you want to see those sort of things. But yeah, now I hope you enjoyed that video, hope it was helpful at least, and if you want me to do anything different, and make more videos like this to help guide you through the game, and EVRIMA especially, I'd be happy to do that. Also, I'd love to hear your feedback, to see what you guys want me to do, if I'm doing anything wrong, if I can do things better, just usual stuff. But yeah, I hope this is at least helpful. I'll put some timestamps down as well, to help you navigate this, but yeah. Just send your feedback down, and hope you have a good one. Okay, see you in a bit, viewers, and thanks for watching. Right, bye.